Survivor 44, episode 7, week 7 of 44 here. So we are picking right up from Josh being voted out, the last person voted out before we start the jury. So we will not see Josh again. He is now out of the game. He's just going home. And now we're going to start the jury going into the next vote. So we're now officially in the merge. Or at least I would have hoped we were in the merge. I'll get to that later. But actually, I'll get to it pretty soon here. So before the challenge, we meet up with a few, they're all merged together. They're still on the same beach, so they're technically merged. And, this is a big centric episode of a few different players this time instead of Carolyn. I think this is like the first week Carolyn is just really, really just kind of there. You get some focus on her, but she's really, really not as focused on as she has been in other episodes because there's other characters or other players here that have a significant situation in this episode. So before the challenge even starts, Matt is talking with a few of the other players from different tribes, and he ends up realizing they mentioned that there are actually 2 idols within the cages on each beach. So within each cage, there was 2 things. There was a real idol and then there was a fake idol. And Matt is, just before that, he was bragging about how, oh my God, finally, I'm past my two tribal councils that I can't vote on. Now I have this, I had this hidden immunity idol from the cage, and I am on top of the world. I am, I'm rising finally. I'm finally here. I'm finally playing the game great. It feels good to be in the game now. And then immediately it cuts to him realizing that he has a fake idol from the cage, because when he went to open the cage, because he found the key that Danny ended up hiding, it's actually the fake idol, because there was only one idol left in that cage, which means he has the fake idol, because obviously they're not going to take the fake one and leave the real one. So he took the fake idol. He has the fake idol, so he doesn't actually have an idol. And he does realize that pretty quickly after, finding that out about the 2 idols within the cage. And he immediately realizes that, Danny was, the one kind of there, kind of pointing out, where to maybe look and everything like that. He realizes Danny is the one that is the one that kind of probably has the real idol and planted the whole fake idol thing within the cage, and now he's kind of after Danny a little bit. Before we get to the whole challenge, it's kind of like a thing they set up that Matt is kind of skeptical of Danny because of that whole idol situation. So the challenge today is really frustrating, really frustrating for me, because I really, really love the individual challenges for Survivor. I love once we merge and it becomes a much more personal, individual game, and it gets a little bit more cutthroat. It's not just tribes fighting against each other, who's gonna save their tribe for this episode, and then I really love the individual game. I really love it. But Survivor is determined to throw in some new twist every single week to make it interesting in some way. And twists are always interesting when they happen from time to time. They don't have to happen every week where there's something new that Jeff is going to do, because why not? The game no longer has a structure every season. It's always some new jumbled mess of twists. You can't just watch the season and realize, okay, this is how the game works and this is how the game operates. No. So when they arrived to the challenge, I thought, okay, maybe this is going to be like a reward challenge. No, this is the immunity challenge. There is a purple and orange setup. So they're going to be split up into 2 teams again, because why are we merged? Why didn't we just split up into 2 tribes at this point? Because I don't get why we are not, why are we merged if we're just going to continue to split them up in every single challenge? We did this last week because they did the earn your merge thing, and now they're splitting them up again, because Jeff loves his twists that are super, super incredibly unnecessary. It really is. So it is an individual challenge. So they split them up, and there's going to be 2 people who do definitely win the challenge, 1 from each team. So there's going to be 2 immunities out there for each person, except the person who lasts the longest in general for their team, the last standing team, is actually safe. So if there's 2 people left, and then 1 falls out, that whole team that had the winner there, they have their immunity already. They earned it, but they're earning for their team. They win. That side cannot go and vote at the tribal. They're just going to go there, and they're going to sit on the jury spot and watch the tribal council happen between the last remaining 5 people. That's it. So this is not really a merged game yet in reality. Like, they're on the same beach, but okay, let's just get into it. So Franny is the one who ends up winning the individual one for the orange team, and Brandon is the one who ends up winning the individual for the purple team. And ultimately, Franny is the one who ends up winning overall. So she's like the real winner of the individual thing generally. Like, but Brandon is safe, and Brandon doesn't really save it for his team. So he's the only one safe within the group that is going to be going to tribal. So he's the only one actually safe. And Franny wins immunity for her entire team. So that team is not going to be participating in tribal council. They'll go back to their normal beach, and then they're going to split them up again. So they send the remaining 5 people, Brandon, Matt, Jam, Jamie, and Lauren. They split them up and send them to the old Soka tribe, old Soka beach, to basically play an individual, like, 2-tribe game again. So we're not really merged yet. Like, we are. They're going to tell you we are, and they're going to pretend like, oh yeah, we're merged, but we're not. Why? You're splitting them up and doing a half tribal with 5 people, because Carson ended up choosing, because there was an odd number of people, so Carson ended up choosing the orange team because he sat out of the challenge, so he chose the orange team and they won, so he's going to be safe as well. So there's 5 people left, and they're the ones going to tribal, and the other ones are just going to go have a feast of PB&J, and the other ones are actually going to go to tribal. And Brandon's already safe. So there's a very, very small amount of people now going to tribal council, and it just doesn't feel like a merge game. It doesn't feel like the main full game. It feels like we're still playing around with stupid little twists and turns and whatever in Survivor, instead of just getting to the point. Like, we are at the merge now. We should be seeing a full tribal council. Everyone's scrambling around. One person has one immunity, and now we're going to figure out who we want to go. I just want to see that. And the constant twists, like, honestly, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if we do something weird again with this next week, because they've done it now twice in a row with this merge. We can't just merge normally anymore. So going into tribal, there's only a select few people, and the 2 people that are kind of on the chopping block here, their names are getting thrown out there, are Jam, who has been like up on the list like every week because he's a bigger player and a lot of people want to continuously get him out. And then you have Matt, and a lot of people mentioned that everyone really likes Matt. So they kind of like, did they really want to keep someone around who everybody likes? And that was kind of like a reasoning to get him out instead. So it was kind of like a determination between Matt and Jam. And then on the winner's side, where they're back at the normal camp, they all just sit there, enjoy their feast and everything like that. Franny is the best. She did it all for everybody. And then they have this little card thing, because there's always some new little advantage or twist that Jeff likes to do. And they are told to open it once they're done eating their feast, their meal. And they open it up, and they have this challenge where there's a bunch of keys hidden around the island. There's like a bunch of them. It's the same thing like with the cage again, but at this time there's a bunch of keys hidden around the island, and they're told to go and find the right key that will unlock the cage. Only one person will find the advantage in the cage. There's a new advantage in there. It's not an idol, but there's a new advantage in the cage, and everyone needs to scramble, go find as many keys as you can, run back once you find a key, see if it works, and then if you open it, you got the advantage. So they do this. You got a few people go in and out, trying the key, they fail, and ultimately Heidi is the one who ends up getting the right key, opening it up, and the advantage is you get to control a vote. So this time it's basically like you have a little bit of control on the winner's side. So the winners almost don't participate, but they do. In a way, one person participates in sense of Heidi is going to be able to, right before Jeff tells everyone to go vote, she is able to stand up and just let Jeff know that I want to change someone's vote. I want to change the way someone is going to vote. So she has to force someone to vote for whoever she wishes. So it's essentially her vote instead of that person's vote. So she is participating in this tribal council, and she's the only one on the winner's side that will be participating. So it's kind of silly, especially with the way it ends up going. Like, it didn't really affect much, I don't think. The two people that were either still going out are Jam Jam or Matt. It was still between those two. So ultimately, you got a bunch of people scrambling to save their favorite player. You got some people scrambling to save Jam Jam. You got some people scrambling to save Matt. Franny was one of the people that really, really wanted to save Matt and have Heidi do some maneuvers to make sure that Matt stays in the game. Carolyn, for example, wants to save Jam Jam because she has a good relationship with him on the game. And once they get the tribal council, they do their little talks and whatever. Matt is super emotional because he is definitely the one who is feeling the most pressure going into this tribal. He really feels like he is the one that is next, and you can see that with Jam Jam and Matt. It's very clear that it's those two that are going to be the ones either voted out, one of those two, and it is between those two. So Matt gets a little emotional. It is what it is. I mean, we see it so much in this. I don't really care. But he gets a little emotional. Jam Jam gets emotional, and then they go and say, okay, you're going to go up and vote. Let's go vote. And then Heidi stands up, and she reveals who she's going to make vote. So she tells Jeff that she is going to make Lauren vote. Lauren has 2 votes. And Lauren even asks Jeff, like, can she control both of my votes, or can she only control one of my votes? And Heidi can only control 1 vote. So ultimately what ends up happening is Heidi only votes once. She never even uses her second vote. So she never uses her second vote, which means she was pretty confident in what exactly she was going to do. And Heidi tells Lauren to vote for Jam Jam because it seems like Heidi wants Jam Jam out, I would assume. I don't know. It was still between Jam Jam or Matt overall, and Lauren voted for Jam Jam. That's it. She didn't really put in a second vote because it seems like she wanted Jam Jam out. She didn't really off-put it. She could have completely off-put that thing with Heidi. She could have completely undone it with her second vote, but she just didn't do it. So there were 5 votes, and the one going home is Matt. So farewell to Matt. I think this is going to be a big part into next week with Franny, because Franny was extremely upset. This was like the island relationship that was going on, and we will see Matt again. We will see Matt at the jury spot next week, and we will see how that, I guess, reaction goes once Franny walks back into tribal council next week. But I think that is going to potentially fuel the fire on Franny's game, and really just, she could start to work in the game as an individual again and not just be so linked to a person and need to keep this person in. She could play the game like, I'm going to win this for myself now. I am determined, and maybe that'll happen. Who knows? But Matt is the one going home this week. The island relationship has broken, and Jam Jam is still in the game. So I think all of these different little advantages, all of these different little twists are extremely frustrating. Like, I would have rather just watched a normal tribal council tonight. Like, the end thing, what Heidi was going to choose, like, who was she going to choose? Who is she going to choose, and who is she going to make vote for? Who is she essentially going to vote for, and who is she going to try saving? And ultimately, it didn't really do a whole lot. Lauren didn't even play her second vote, and Jam Jam is safe, and Matt is the one going home. So yeah, it was overall just a really dumb episode of twists and advantages. I think the advantage was wasted. I think the twist was completely stupid. And yeah, that's about it. It wasn't my favorite episode for sure. I just think there's a lot of stupid decisions within the game and with Jeff and what he's trying to do, and I'm just not a fan of it. I've mentioned this a lot in my reviews here in the past few seasons, where Jeff has just continuously wanted to up the twists and how the game is played and everything, and I get it. Like, I think that can be interesting, but he does it way too often, way too often, to the point where it doesn't really feel like the game of Survivor of what it was, and the whole core concept of Survivor just seems to be scrambled now every single season. We're straying away from the normal, and I think the normal is fine. I think the normal will always be interesting because you always have a new cast of people. You always have a new cast of people that are navigating the game, a whole new group of personalities. It's going to be a different season. It's going to look different. It's going to feel different, no matter how same you keep the game. It doesn't have to change that much. So all these twists, they can be fun. Some of them can be fun. I'm not going to sit here and deny that, but I'm getting really exhausted of them, and I think this one this week was super, super dumb. We haven't had a normal tribal council with like the whole merge yet. We haven't had like a normal episode of it yet. Hopefully that's next week, and hopefully we just tone down the rest of these twists for the rest of the season, because it's getting tiring. But I expect Jeff to do it again, and hopefully at least that one will be interesting. I didn't like this one, but Matt is the next one going, and we'll see what happens with like people like Franny next week. I'm sure Carolyn's super happy about Jam Jam staying, and yeah, we'll see where it goes. But Matt is gone, first person of the jury, and on to week 8.